Hi class, today we're going to go over the 2.2 notes, which is about slope. So let's go ahead and begin. First we'll go over the slope formula. This is how you find the slope and the numerical value of slope. And the formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is assuming you're given 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2. So you would plug those values in for x and y to find your slope. You can also find slope by using rise over run. So let's go ahead and look at some examples and apply this formula. The first example says the roof of an entryway to an office building has a rise of 40 feet and a run of 100 feet. What is its slope? So notice it says rise and run. We discussed above that slope equals rise over run. So in this case, it will be 40 over 100. We do need to simplify this. We can cross out one set of zeros. It simplifies to 4/10. And then we can simplify further by dividing top and bottom by 2. So our slope is 2/5. In the next example, it says, what is the slope of the line that passes through the points -4, -5, and 6, -2? So for this one, since they gave us 2 points, we'll go ahead and use that standard slope formula of m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I like to label my points just to make sure I plug them in correctly. And then I'll go ahead and substitute. I get -2 minus, so notice I brought the minus sign down from the formula. Now I'm going to plug in that -5 over 6 minus, brought down the minus sign again from the formula. Now I'm going to plug in the -4. So when I simplify this, on the top, these 2 minuses in the middle become a plus. So -2 plus 5 is 3. Bottom, the same thing happens. Minus becomes a plus. 6 plus 4 is 10. There is no way to simplify this, so it's your final answer. Now let's go over the types of lines and their slope. So we have different types of slopes. This here would be a positive slope because it's going up from left to right. This line is a negative slope because it's going down from left to right. This next line is called a zero slope. The way I tell students to remember this is that you could make a Z with that line for 0. And the last one is known as no slope, or some people call it undefined. I like to use it as no slope because you can make an N with the line. So in this next example, without graphing, we're going to decide whether the lines rise, fall, or horizontal or vertical. What they mean by without graphing is that we're going to find the slope. So to find the slope, I'm going to use slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. M equals -1 minus 6 over 8 minus 1. So I get -7 over 7, which is a -1. Since my slope is negative, this falls from left to right. Negative slopes fall. For the next one, using the same formula, m equals 1 minus a -3 over 7 minus a -4. Those double negatives become pluses. So I get 4 over 11. This is positive value. It's a positive 4 over a positive 11, so this rises. For the next one, I have 1 minus 3 on top. Notice I'm very careful about making sure the y values are on top. On bottom, I get -5 minus a -5. Well, this minus becomes a plus on bottom. So on top, 1 minus 3 is -2. On bottom, -5 plus 5 is 0. We cannot divide by 0. This is known as a no slope. So it's a vertical line. So anytime 0 is on the bottom, it's undefined or no slope. I like to remember it like this. So notice the zero's on the bottom, so no, it's not okay. If the zero's on top, that is okay. So looking at this next one, I get 2 minus 2 on top and negative 9 minus 9 on bottom. 2 minus 2 on top is a 0. Negative 9 minus 9 on bottom is a negative 18. This ends up equaling 0 because the 0 is on top. Recall from up above here, that's okay. That means, since it's a 0 slope, this is a horizontal line. Okay, so next we're going to go over parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So let me give you an example of opposite reciprocals. So if we have 1/2 as our slope, opposite would be change the sign to a negative because it was a positive. So we change the sign and then we flip the number. So this is the opposite reciprocal of 1/2. In example 4, we're going to tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. In order to do this, we do need to find the slope of each. I'm going to go ahead and write the slope formula once up here. So for line 1, I have negative 5 minus 1 over 0 minus a negative 2. Negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. On the bottom, those double negatives become a plus, so it's 2, which means my slope is negative 3. For line 2, I get 10 minus 1 over negative 3 minus 0. 10 minus 1 is 9. Negative 3 minus 0 is negative 3, so I get a slope of negative 3. Notice these are the same. Both slopes are equal, so these are parallel. And that's it for that problem. Now we're just going to quickly go over the rate of change definition. This is how much one quantity changes relative to change in another quantity. So it's basically like slope. Slope is rate of change. It's rate of change because it's the change in the y over the change in the x. Okay? So if they're asking for rate of change, it's the same as asking, or very similar to asking of slope. And that's it for notes today. If you have any questions, be sure to talk to your teacher.